Assalamu alaikum girls. We have already studied about the gametogenesis, which is the production of the gametes. Now we are going to start the topic fertilization. So today's topic will be related to the fertilization. There are two kinds of fertilization. One is external fertilization and one is the internal fertilization. External means the fertilization occurs outside the body. For example, fish, mostly in aquatic environment. Why? Because for the fusion we need liquid, we need the medium which is liquid. Okay, so male and female animals release their gametes, and then actually the gametes are released at the same time. uh, for external fertilization they have to release great number of gametes. Why? Because they can be wasted and they can get spread somewhere else. In external fertilization, there is risk of loss of gametes because of environmental hazards such as predators, because some of the other fishes can eat and they can feed on the eggs of the other fishes. And due to environmental hazards, there can be great loss. So it occurs in many invertebrates also, and some of the vertebrates, for example, fish and amphibians. And the internal fertilization, actually in most of the animals the internal fertilization takes place, like the higher animals, for example reptiles, birds and mammals. Why? Because protection is provided to the developing embryo, because the fertilization is internal. And um, in some of the animals they lay eggs with the protective shells actually. And reptiles and birds are those animals which lay the eggs with a protective covering. The shell is resistant to water loss and damage also. In mammals, with the exception of egg-laying mammals, the development of fertilized eggs, actually in mammals only the egg-laying mammals are very less, for example the platypus. And usually what happens is that the nourishment and the development of the fertilized egg in the form of embryo takes place in the body of the mother, and it gives extra protection to the embryo, and all the nutrients are provided by the mother's body. Now we are going to study about reproduction in rabbit. This is our today's topic. So we'll be studying about male reproductive system and then the female reproductive system. Actually we are studying the rabbits. Why? Because they are mammals, and they are used in research and experimental for research and experimental purposes. And so the male reproductive system of rabbit, it has a pair of testes, so two testes, and they produce sperms. The ducts, they transport the sperm to the external genitalia. Actually the external genitalia and glands, they get what they receive the sperms. Testes are located in a bag of skin called scrotum that hangs below the body. Each testis consists of a mass of coiled tubes called the seminiferous tubules. In these tubules the sperms are formed. So these are the testes, which is the pair of testes, and they are present in the hanging bag which is scrotum, and it contains collecting ducts, and these collecting ducts pass the semen and the sperms to the epididymis. From epididymis the sperm moves to a sperm duct known as vas deferens. This is the sperm duct which is known as vas deferens. Both the sperm ducts, now because the testes are two, so the sperm ducts are also two, and they join the urethra just below the urinary bladder. So it comes and joins the urethra here, and the urethra transports both the sperm and the urine both. So semen is the material containing sperms in a fluid. So the sperms are present, but they are present in a fluid. This fluid is known as semen. The semen contains of 10% sperms and 90% fluid. As the sperms pass down the ducts from the testis to the urethra, the associated glands add various secretions. Okay, why secretions? To maintain the pH and all. Seminal vesicles produce secretions that provide nutrients for the sperms. So, as I told you that we have to provide a favorable environment for the sperms. Seminal vesicles are present here and they provide favorable secretions and nutrients for the sperms. Prostate gland produces a secretion. Here is the prostate gland, and it produces a secretion that neutralizes the acidity of the fluid, again the maintenance of the pH. If the acidity of the fluid is more, then what happens? The sperm are going to get degenerated and they are going to be deformed and dysfunctional. Cowper's gland produces secretions that lubricate the ducts. So this Cowper's gland produces the function is the lubrication of the ducts for the proper transport of the semen. Okay. Now coming towards the female reproductive system, the female reproductive system of rabbit has ovaries and associated ducts. So as you can see, there is a pair of ovaries. There is pair of ovaries. They are oval organs. See, this ovary and this ovary, both of them are oval organs and they are situated in the abdominal cavity, just ventral to the kidneys. Like most animals, female rabbits have a pair of ovaries. The outer region of the ovary produces egg cells. A cluster of specialized cells, this surround and nourish each cell. So these are the follicles, these smaller area, these are the follicles and they nourish the egg cells. From ovaries, egg cells are released into the fallopian tubes. So these are the fallopian tubes and the egg cell gets released into the fallopian tubes, and the opening of the fallopian tubes lies close to the ovary. As you can see, this is the opening and it lies close to the ovary. Fertilization occurs in fallopian tubes, and the now where does the fertilization occurs? In the fallopian tubes. And the fertilized egg, which becomes the zygote, is then carried to the uterus. The uterus is divided into two separate parts or horns. So see, here two uterus horns are present. These are the parts of the uterus. The uterus horns join and open into the vagina or the birth canal, and the cervix is the portion of the uterus which separates it from the birth canal where the sperms of the male are deposited. Rabbits can breed throughout the year, and the male rabbits are commonly sterile during the summer months, so they are unable to breed during the summer months. Male rabbits deposit its sperms in the birth canal of the female. The sperms, they swim through the cervix, so they have to get passed through the cervix and then through the uterus and then to the fallopian tubes where they fertilize the egg cells, and these egg cells are released from the ovary. After fertilization, the zygote is carried to the uterus. By this time, the zygote has started dividing and now it is known as an embryo. The embryo is implanted in the uterus wall. A connection, which is known as placenta, it is established between the embryo and the uterus wall. Embryo develops into new offspring, which is a rabbit kit, in 30 to 32 days, after which it is born.